Welcome back. This is the next installment of the brand piece of business architecture. And if you've been through the previous videos, especially some of the ones in the AHA Hub, what you would have gone through is the architecture roadmap, where it highlights the 5 big pieces of architecture that need to be built in a business, as well as a simple 5-step process to start implementing, to build, to implement, and to scale those assets out. And the reason why I bring that up is because now you'll start to see how all these things start to work and fit together. Because like I say, business is like a big puzzle. All we're doing is just putting pieces of the puzzle in place. And the more pieces of the puzzle we can put in place, the clearer the picture becomes. And you may have noticed that, if you've done a puzzle recently, or even when you were a child, the more, you start off with a blank canvas, and then as you progressively put more pieces of the puzzle in place, we start to form a picture. And when the picture starts to form, it gives us a little bit of momentum. We've got more reference points. We can start to build a little bit more. We can start to pick up other pieces that we didn't know where to put them. And now we can start to figure out what to do with them. And so that's what architecture is all about in business, is bringing together all of these pieces. And that's the most important thing about brand. We need to have good alignment and good synchronicity across all the pieces of the puzzle, so that as someone is engaging with us from the start all the way through to the end, the whole journey just makes complete sense. There's no things, nothing sitting there where you're engaging with it and then all of a sudden going, what was that all about? Why? I didn't even know. That doesn't even make any sense. Why would they do that? Why would they say that? Why is that even there? And so what we want to do is start to put that architecture of brand in place and then work down off that and start to link it through the main pieces of architecture that we're actually concentrating on moving forward. And so brand architecture is all about, okay, let's put a framework around how it is that we can start to construct brand, how we can start to construct the experience that people have, the holistic experience that people have when they interact with us. And so the first thing is, okay, now you may have noticed from the last video that there is the pre sitting there, there's the after sitting there, and we've got the engagement sitting in the middle. So now I've just overlaid a framework on top of that. And so what happens is that now there's 3 big elements of brand architecture that we need to start looking at and constructing so that we can really get this thing rolling on. Now, the first thing is connection. Obviously, when we're looking at pre, and even if someone's looking into who you are and what you do, connection is a huge piece of that. We need to get people in the market to not just look at who you are and then move on to the next one. We need to get them to look at who you are, gain a connection, manufacture a connection, create a connection, somehow form a connection with you, your product, your service, and the essence and the very thing that you stand by in this world, so that they can feel compelled to move through to the next big element, which is engagement, right? So after they feel a connection, they go through to engagement. They want to ask a question, they want to pursue something, they want to take a next step, they want to do something. And it's a compelling thing, because when they feel that connection and then they want to take action and engage, then they have to go through then to the alignment stage. So the engagement is all about delivering the product, right? And then the after service and everything that happens after it. So they get the result with the product, but then what happens next? What needs to happen is we need to fill that space so that all that makes sense with everything that they came through the engagement, and then that makes sense and aligns with the connection. So what the alignment part of this is saying is, okay, it's not just about the product. It is about the product, but it's not just about the product, because the product itself is just we're talking about the interaction, but the actual product we're talking about is the whole thing, from the whole journey from the start all the way through to the finish, right? And so what we're looking for is an alignment between all of those things. And so we're looking at, okay, connection. Now, philosophy. So philosophy is the first big architecture piece that we lay out in that architecture roadmap. And philosophy is really, really important, because like I said in that video back then, philosophy is the thing that tells the market why they should give a shit. That is just how that works. It's like the backstory that you tell, or the vulnerability that someone brings out. It's that piece of the puzzle where people sit there going, oh, this is actually real and I can engage with this. Often we want to say, people want to build a relationship with the product, we often get our marketing to really promote the products and the services and the products and the services, when people don't want to build a connection with a product. They want to build a connection with the brand. And so if we take a typical example here is as Apple, right? So Apple they're just a technology company, right? They do phones, they do computers, they do all that stuff. They're a technology company. But it's so much deeper than that. Their brand extends so much further than just a technology company. And you know, even when we're looking at the alignment process, they've got, so when you think about Apple, you know, there's this perception of clean, crisp, it's just neat, it's just what it is. And look, I'm an Apple user, so I love Apple and I have been now for a long time, but I was once on the bandwagon where I wasn't. I was anti-Apple. But I got sucked into their product architecture and really got to understand, okay, what are they about? And even down to the packaging, if you've ever noticed, their packaging is very clean, it's very crisp, there's a very cut through sense of purpose about even their packaging. It's not even about the thing that you're buying, but just the unpacking process is a whole experience in itself, and it is a part of the brand. And so what we're looking at is, okay, we need to get clear with what the philosophy of what the business is. And that starts with the person who owns the business. So we need to get clear with the philosophy of the person who owns the business. And so what that starts to do is it starts to bring through personality. People want to connect with something they can connect with, and that's a personality. We can't connect with an inanimate object, we like connecting with people. And this is why I've been talking a lot about how we're not currently in a sales economy, we're currently in a relationship economy. People can smell a sale coming from a mile away, and the more you try and sell something, the more likely you are to drive a sale away. So what we need to do is refocus and put it on building relationships, which is connections. And so what we can start to do is really use a philosophy to bring through the personality piece of what this is all about, because what we need to concentrate on is building the next thing, which is relationships. When we have a relationship that we've formed with a personality and all built off a philosophy, that whole connection piece leaves us with the feeling of loyalty. Now, this loyalty is one of the key aspects of maintaining a good relationship with the customer, right? It's loyalty. We need them to feel loyal to the brand. We need them to feel loyal to the people in the business. We need them to feel loyal enough to be able to go out and promote what they did and what they experienced with the people that they know. And so when we're promoting a thing and it's generating loyalty, that's what starts to happen. And we start to get these connections that are forming, and then those connections go out and make connections, and then we start getting third-party connections called referrals. And so this whole piece of the puzzle here is really, really critical to developing a very strong brand. So the next thing is positioning. Now, positioning is all about engagement. Positioning, there's a whole video piece on positioning and what positioning is. And so I'm not going to go too far into what positioning is. It's a key piece, another key piece of architecture. But at the heart of it, what we're looking at is we need to start generating the right conversations. So the right conversations will lead to the right actions. Conversations comes through the positioning piece. So we need to make sure that we're having the correct conversations using the correct language that's starting to form the right perception of what people are holding of your brand. And so the conversations that they're having and the conversations that we're having with them ultimately lead to the action that they take, because the conversation will start to really shift their focus and bring their focus into alignment, which is actually the first point of alignment, which is focus. I'll talk about that in a sec, but the conversations that we have with people start to form the actions that they take. And when they're taking those actions, it's like when they get that feedback loop that really makes sense and it aligns really well with what it is that they bought in the first place, then it starts to create, it's funny, it starts to create this sense of confidence and certainty. Certainty. Now, when we can have them feeling certain, obviously uncertain people will want to walk away, because certainty breeds action, and action comes from conversations. And so these three things start to work together to work with the positioning to ultimately create a very strong engagement from a client and your brand. And the last thing we're talking about here is alignment, which is a product. And the product is the third piece of architecture that we go into in business architecture. And going into that further, that's a big piece too. So there's multiple elements to the product piece. And we're talking about, how do we get clear with what it is that we need to put in front of a customer so that they're willing to buy? How do we develop product architecture so that they can work their way through and ultimately get the value that they're investing in? But then as a business, commercially, we're still getting the value for what we're creating and putting out. And so what we need to do is use our product and make sure that it fully aligns with the philosophy and the positioning that's been created, because that's what they've connected with and engaged with. And our product needs to create focus, which is what we said before. When we create focus, it's like people like having a focus. It's the roadmap that starts to be created. And that's the next piece, is the roadmap. When we can give people a thing to focus on and a map to follow, a process to follow, in order to achieve what it is that they need to achieve, then they're left feeling with a very strong sense of confidence. And that confidence starts to really shine through and help them understand more about why they need to be loyal to your brand, why they need to stick around, and why they need to start helping you to promote what you do, because obviously it gets results, because they got the result. And so leaving them feeling confident, leaving them feeling certain, and leaving them feeling loyal is the perfect space that you need to be able to create for your customers and your clients and your market, so that we can start to really construct a brand that's going to cut through the noise and cut through all the fast-paced dynamics that are happening in these markets, so that ultimately this business, your business, can ultimately get there and really start to explore its next phases of meaningful business growth.